In this video, I'm going to run you through why I decided to leave the UK at 26 years old and haven't moved back since. I'm going to give you my honest opinion on what drove me to leave the UK and move abroad, and why I'm not going to be looking at moving back anytime soon. My honest review and maybe some advice as well if you're in your 20s, you're in your early 30s, and you're also kind of considering whether moving and getting out of the UK is going to be right for you, or whether it's just worth getting out of your home country and moving somewhere else. Now, just to be clear before we get into this, I am not here to hate on the UK. This is not going to be one of those videos that you see me slate the UK, slate the government, slate the taxes, slate the weather, all this kind of thing, slate the people. I see so many videos about that online at the moment, and it's just not my thing. I still love the UK. For me, it's still my home country. I still will move back there at some point. I will hopefully raise a family there at some point, and I will definitely be back there in the future. I don't have a massive problem with the UK. I have an opinion on certain matters, but I'm not going to discuss them on this video. And as I say, I'm not a massive hater on the UK, okay? I don't have a huge, this vendetta that I see people say now about how they're never going to move back there and how the UK is the worst country in the world, because I do not think that at all. I'm just going to give you my honest opinion as someone who's still in their 20s about why I decided to move, and basically whether I think that it's a good idea or not, and also just some advice about maybe where to move, all that kind of thing as well. So a little bit of a background into myself. Now, currently I'm 29 years old, so I've been out of the UK now for getting on for about 3 years, okay? I left them when I was 26, and I had a good life. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to say I was depressed in any way whatsoever. I was in a relationship at the time. I was happy. I was comfortable. I lived a good life at the time. I was, again, making enough money within my business. I was happy, but the biggest thing for me is I could see a lot of potential in myself, and I also felt that I was very ambitious, and I felt that I was in too much of a comfort zone to really be able to unlock this full potential. And that was one of the biggest reasons, again, why it drove me to make a decision to get myself out of the UK. Okay, so when I was at 26, I just came to the decision, having been to Dubai a couple of times and had seen people that I knew who were in a similar position to me move there, start a new life there, and the kind of success that they had. I just felt like it was my time to do that, okay? I just felt like whilst I was happy in my relationship, I wasn't completely fulfilled. And I just didn't feel like it was something I wanted to do forever. I still felt like I was young, and I still felt like I had another life that I wanted to go and live before I was ready to fully settle down. So, as I said, this wasn't me thinking, I hate my life, I hate the UK, I hate being here. I was actually really happy, but I just didn't feel super fulfilled at the time. And I just knew that there was something missing, which is exactly why it drove me to make that decision at 26 years old, having just started my online business and really getting it to a good position, as to why I decided to leave. And that kind of brings me on to point number one, okay? And this is about actually really chasing growth and not staying in a comfort zone. And I think this is one thing that a lot of guys specifically they kind of stay in a job they're not super fulfilled in. They maybe are in a relationship they're not super fulfilled in, but they just think, oh, well, I'm getting by, I'm okay. That's not the mindset to have. And the biggest thing for me that moving from the UK did when I moved to Dubai is it just put me completely out of my comfort zone. It put me into a place, into an environment that I had never experienced before. And it's what really helped me grow as an entrepreneur and as someone that wanted to be and get the most out of their life. And that's one thing that I think is super important, okay? Anytime you leave your hometown or anytime you leave your home country, I just think that's such a powerful thing in terms of really getting out of comfort and actually fulfilling that full potential. It just triggers something inside of you. You're in a new territory. Nothing is comfortable anymore. You have to work everything else out again. And I got that same feeling even when I left my hometown and I went to uni and I wasn't being cuddled or cuddled by my mum anymore. I was in a position where I was having to fend for myself. Even though I was pretty broke at the time, like any students are, it still gave me that same sense of fulfillment where I got out of my hometown, right? And I was ready again to start a new life. That's what enabled me and pushed me essentially when I decided to move to Dubai. So that's one thing I think is really important. Don't get stuck in a comfort zone. If you are in a position where you want to fulfill the most in your life, I genuinely do believe that moving at least out of your hometown is an absolute non-negotiable. I think staying in your hometown forever, I just don't think you really experience what it's truly like to remove yourself from a comfort zone and actually really start to build as much as you can and self-develop as an individual. So absolutely 100%, that was one of the best things that I ever did. And obviously taking it to Dubai and moving overseas really took it to the next level. And I wouldn't be where I am now and I wouldn't have the business that I do now to say that I'm super successful, but I certainly wouldn't be where I am now if it wasn't for making that first leap and moving. And as I say, I was comfortable in the UK. I had a good life in the UK. I had a good relationship in the UK. I had what every guy sometimes would want. I had a dog, I had an ex at the time that I was very happy with. Lots of things that were going for me. I lived in a lovely area, I lived in a nice house, but as an ambitious individual, there was something missing, which I just didn't ever seem to fully be able to fulfill that hole, which is what led me to make that decision to move to the UK. And if you feel like that too, it's only a matter of time before something's going to give. You've got to do and make the uncomfortable decision about really moving. Secondly, now I would be lying to you if I didn't say that the finances didn't play any part in me moving out from the UK. Okay, anyone who says that they moved to the UK and the finances and the tax wasn't a thing, they are probably lying. It wasn't the biggest thing that drove me to leave and move to Dubai. I'm honestly telling you now, it wasn't just simply about tax. As I say, the biggest reason was what I just mentioned. But of course, it does play a part. I'm a young, ambitious guy. I want to sort my finances out and my wealth for my future family. And of course, running an online business has so many benefits. And one of the benefits is you can be anywhere in the world, you can live anywhere in the world, and you can still run your business. And we all know that the taxes in the UK are pretty bad. They are not great when it comes to building your future wealth, you know, with all the taxes that you've got out there, VAT, corporation tax, all these things. And at the time, my business was in a position where VAT was inevitable. We were at the point where I really needed to register VAT. And of course, anyone knows as soon as you go over that threshold, you are then obviously less profitable as a business. So again, that was one of the things that led me to want to make my move to Dubai. As you know, at the time, Dubai had absolutely zero tax, still has pretty much zero tax, a few little more complications since. But again, obviously there is a trade-off because Dubai is more expensive, and obviously setting your business up in Dubai costs money. So you have to have your business to a certain level. But that was the thing, you know, that combined with the fact that I knew moving to Dubai would grow my business, it just meant that my overall wealth and status towards that would improve drastically, which it did. And of course, having moved to Dubai and have my business set up in Dubai, which has been for the last 3 years, I have saved thousands of pounds on tax, thousands, which I've reinvested back into my business, which has helped me grow my business. Okay. I haven't just gone and spent all that money on stupid things. I've reinvested it into my own education, into self-development, into business courses, into mentorships, and also back into the business. Again, on things like ad spend, all that kind of stuff, which you're just more crippled if you're in the UK because you just don't have the same budget. You can't compete with someone who has got their business set up in another country where the taxes are much lower. So of course that was a reason, as I say, and it's helped me build more wealth in my 20s. You know, I've managed to start saving, I've managed to start putting money aside now, and I would never have been able to do that really, or not to the level that I've been able to do that if I didn't leave the UK and get my finances set up in another position. So of course, my advice is if you do have an online business and it's doing pretty well, if you are an online coach and it's doing well, and there is no reason why you can't move from the UK, I would potentially very much consider that. Get yourself to somewhere like Dubai, even just set your business up. You don't have to live in Dubai, but you can set your business up there and you can save yourself a ton of money from obviously doing that. And it just really does help you when it comes to building wealth in the future. You can put what you would be paying in VAT and corporation tax into an investment fund, and then you can have yourself sorted when you get to the future. So of course, you know, that was one of the reasons why I decided that I wanted to get out of the UK as well. And again, it was a great decision for me to have done that. Tax in the UK is a little bit of a problem for a lot of people. Of course, it is what it is, but it is a high tax country. And that's just the reality when it comes to living in the UK. The next thing that really, I think I've experienced a lot of from leaving the UK and is culture, right? It's religion. Now, you don't get that really in the UK as much as what you get when you move to somewhere like Dubai or when you move to somewhere like Thailand, you spend time in places like Bali. I've traveled quite a lot in the last few years, and it's just been nice to just experience what it is, like how other people live in other countries, right? In places like Thailand. It's been great to see that. Okay? When you just are always in the UK and you just are in this little bubble, you don't really know what it's like in other countries. You don't know what other cultures are like. You don't know what other religions are like. Okay? And I just think it's been nice for me to actually experience that and just see how other families live, how they bring up their kids, how businesses are like in other countries, all these other things. And I just think that like seeing that, someone in your 20s, again, it's a cool thing to see. Seeing these different cultures, experiencing these different cultures. Dubai is obviously very diverse. There's a lot of things going on there. I wouldn't say Dubai's got that much culture, if I'm being completely honest. I think parts of Dubai are a little bit soulless, but especially coming to Southeast Asia and like experiencing Thailand and seeing Bali, it's a really like cool thing to see as someone in your 20s when you just start to see like just how like, the people in countries like this, they don't need much to be happy. And I think that's one thing I've really seen. And it's actually helped me as well in terms of like really trying to rediscover what it is that actually makes me happy. It's the finer things in life. Some of these families out here in Thailand, people that live here, they make such little money, but they're so happy because of, you know, family, and they're not looking to try and buy all these things, buy all these expensive things. And you know, people chase the wrong things sometimes in the UK. You get people that have probably got have got a lot of money, have got a lot of wealth, but they're still not happy, right? Whereas you get people in Thailand that have got a 1% of the wealth that they've got, but are happy, they've got family, you know, they've got their values, which are completely different. And I just think seeing that and experiencing that culture has been, again, one thing that I've really enjoyed and I've really liked to have. And I think, again, you see the world, you see how the world works. You get out of the UK, you get out of your home country, you start to see different religions, you start to date different cultures. That's another thing for me. Having been single now for probably the last like 2.5 years, it's been nice for me to date different nationalities, different girls from different countries, and just find out a little bit more about them as well. It's crazy, like the differences that you actually see, instead of obviously just dating from your home country, which again, I'm not saying that's an issue. Of course it's not, but like, I think for me, it's been nice for me to experience other countries, other religions, other cultures, meet different types of women from lots of different places. It just opens up your eyes, guys. Honestly, it's a pretty cool thing to see as well. The next is going to be about business growth. Okay. Now, as I say, one of my biggest goals is about really reaching my full potential, really, and I'm an ambitious individual that really wants to grow. I think that moving yourself, okay, out of your home country, when it comes to really like pushing yourself as much as you can within business is one of the best things that you can do. And there's a few reasons for that. I think, firstly, the networking has been insane since I've left coming out of the UK. Obviously, I've met a lot of other coaches, ambitious individuals in Dubai, in Bali, and there's just something about like guys that leave their hometown and then they set themselves up somewhere else. They've got that real energy and ambition that it's very contagious. You get around these people and you almost want to do the same. There's a lot of networking opportunities and it just helps you as a business owner, especially when being in Dubai. I felt that like really being in the mix and being around different coaches that were extremely successful, right? It helped me really like push myself as well. And again, really trying to fulfill my full potential. Okay. It's like that saying goes, like you are the sum of the 5 people you hang around with. I think that when you're in a place like Dubai, where everyone is thinking bigger, everyone wants the most, you are such a small fish in a big pond in a place like Dubai. And it just really like pulls the most out of you in terms of like, you know, your potential within your business and the drive and energy that I think that you've got. Now, there is a little bit of a trade-off to that because I think like that can also become a bit toxic, which is one of the reasons why I decided to come to Asia and live in a place like I'm in now, where I'm in Thailand. You got to get the right balance. I think that like being in Dubai 24/7 can kind of, you know, you can almost never really find that true happiness, if I'm being completely honest, in my opinion. But I think, you know, coming out of Dubai, coming to a place like this, enjoying being in a place like Thailand, and then obviously going back there, I think can help as well from that perspective. And of course, going back to things like finances as well, guys, when you live in a place like Thailand, the cost of living is so much cheaper. Okay. So like where I'm living now, I save a lot of money from groceries, from gym memberships, from the day-to-day stuff, from dating, because I'm in a place where it's just much cheaper. And again, going back to my finances, you know, having my business set up in a place like Dubai and living in a place like Thailand in Southeast Asia, it's a very lucrative thing because of course my business, predominantly the clients that we work with are from the UK. So my earnings are kind of based off being in the West. I'm set up in a place like Dubai where I'm paying very little tax. And my actual cost of living is down a lot because I'm living in a place like Southeast Asia in Thailand. So you kind of get the best of both worlds, again, when it comes to really building out your finances. And the last thing I think is just generally about freedom, okay? I just think having a real sense of freedom, it's just a very empowering feeling to really think that you can kind of go anywhere, be anywhere, and be able to still live your life and enjoy your life and still be able to earn money and still do things that you love. I think that like, having that is such an empowering feeling and having that sense of real freedom. I've always wanted that. I felt like, again, being in the UK, I just felt a little bit stuck. I thought to myself, okay, I've got an opportunity now where I don't actually need to really be anywhere. And now being able to experience full locational freedom, I think is a really cool thing to experience. Now, of course, you have to be disciplined. Of course, you have to remain structured. This isn't like a full-time holiday that I'm on where I'm constantly going to all these exotic places. But I think when you've built up enough discipline, you know, you've built up enough structure, you love what you do, you can operate at such a high standard in these amazing places. And the other benefit to that as well when it comes to business is, for me personally, I'm a content creator, I'm an online coach. Living in a place like this where you can get amazing content, places like Dubai where they've got outdoor gyms, again, it just gives you the edge, I think, when you're creating polarizing content that people will see on social media because you live in a cool place, right? And again, I'm not hating on the UK, but the weather's pretty crap. There's not as much opportunities to get great content. Whereas, you know, living in places like Thailand, Bali, Dubai, you can really, again, build a great base of content. You know, you can build a journey just like I'm doing now. I want to really inspire you guys. I want to show you guys about my lifestyle. I think that doing what I do, traveling, being in different places, I think it builds my story. It builds who I am. It builds my personal brand, being able to kind of do that. So just to wrap up this video, guys, my honest opinion is, you know, if you are in your 20s or your early 30s or wherever you are in your life and you have an opportunity to be able to leave your home country or even just leave your hometown and start over a new life, I would absolutely do it. It is 100% worth it for me. I do not look back on my past. It was a very tough decision at the time to leave comfort, to leave a life that actually at the time I was happy, right? I was happy with what I was doing, but I just didn't feel like it was enough. And that decision is what has got me to where I am now. You know, I've been able to live in Thailand, going to Bali in a few months, then back to Dubai. And this isn't a flex, okay? It's not a flex at all. I feel very grateful to be able to do what I do. I love my job. I love being able to change people's lives. But I truly do believe that, you know, making that decision 3 years ago, leaving the UK, stepping out of comfort, was the start to this. And essentially, I wouldn't be where I am now if it wasn't for making that uncomfortable, tough decision a few years ago. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. If you have, make sure you smash the like button, make sure you subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.